definitely not shut up and dribble.
The champ is here.
I must be the greatest.
The champ is here.
I'm going to continue to stand with the people.
The champ is here.
I will not lose.
I'm a bad man. I took up the world.
Yes, welcome. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you are here with we. My name is EJ, and I got my man.
MH.
Yes, he is the DB of the show, and we are Black in Sports, giving a voice to the culture that won't shut up and dribble. Here, interviewing the best professionals in the game and in the boardroom, covering it all, laughing at it all, while providing a platform to be heard. So, without further ado, you know how we do it. Around this time, we like to welcome our guests. So today, we have HBCU grad. All right, she's going to give us the Success Playbook, so we can master the arts of taking the L's. All right. We have two-time author, speaker, and a game changer in heels. We have NFL executive. Please clap it up for Chanelle Reynolds. All right, Chanelle. Hey. Let's bring it in. I love
that introduction.
Like that? You like that? Okay. We're going to make sure we bring you in well. All right. So how we start our show. All right. So we talk about a shoot your shot moment. This is where you kind of tell the folks, you know, a time that you bet on yourself, went for it all. It could have been good, or you could have taken in.
Last night took a L, but tonight I bounce back.
So you want to do it, please kind of share that shoot your shot moment with us.
I'll say with every job I've had in the industry, I shot my shot via LinkedIn.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Inside scoop tip right there.
Yeah. So, I mean, of course, I applied on teamwork, but to stand out, I always found either the hiring manager or somebody on the hiring team and found something in common on their LinkedIn page, and I shot them a note.
That's
cool. That's real cool. So, Chanelle, where did your love for sports start?
So it definitely started when I was a child. So my father, very big sports fan. So we used to go to some of the Sixers games growing up, and it was cool. So eventually, you know, when I got into college, my first internship was with the Wells Fargo Center, home of the Philadelphia 76ers, the hockey team, all that amazing stuff. And I got to see firsthand, not only live events, but live sporting events. So I would say that my love for sports as a business side was cultivated there during my internship. And then just from there, like I knew once I graduated, whatever I did in like post-graduation for my career had to be fun. Like I was going to be doing it every day from 9 to 5. So, why not go with where my passion is? So yeah, that's me. That's my backstory. So
Basketball, right, is your favorite sport, right? It's the A1.
How y'all know that?
Just read some stuff. Yeah.
Yes. Basketball is my favorite sport.
So what about basketball? I heard your favorite athlete was Iverson. What about Iverson made him the guy for you?
So it was honestly that era where it was like Iverson, Mutombo, Aaron McKee, like all those guys. They just
Aaron McKee, he made that list for you.
And they were fun to watch. They played together well, and they were fun to watch. But AI, of course, stood out because like he was for the culture, right? He changed the game. He changed the culture. We all wore our AI braids. We had our jerseys. Like everybody wanted to be AI. So that's where that came from.
He's definitely for the culture. I mean, changed some policies along the way.
Definitely did.
So you're born in Delaware. Is that correct?
Born and raised in Delaware. Don't ask me what's in Delaware. It's a pass-through state, but I love my Delaware.
MH, have you ever been to Delaware?
It's a pass-through state. So yeah, I think I think I have touched Delaware soil. I just haven't been there very long. I'm trying to figure out where it's at on the map. I mean, I got to go back to geography.
Yeah, it's like
where we at on the map? Where we at on the map?
Y'all, we are the first state. I hear that all the time. Like we're on the East Coast. We're below Pennsylvania, but above Maryland or to the left. We on the coast.
y'all there. Okay.
We in there.
So growing up in Delaware. So, I mean, fun fact for those that don't know is that you're a twin, which is like amazing, you know, because that's a rarity thing. I mean, so how is it and how much do you enjoy being a twin, or is it a headache at sometimes?
Having a twin is like having a built-in bestie. Like that's your girl. Y'all have each other's back. Is she annoying? Absolutely, but I mean, all siblings are annoying. So, but yes, I love having a twin.
And then, you know, you guys, you have 4 other sisters, so your dad's prayer game has to be real tough, because like MH understands what it is, and he just has a daughter right now. So your prayer game, your pop's prayer game, got to be strong.
Listen, like I don't understand how that happened to have 5 girls. He kept trying for a boy, but God was like, "I said what I said."
Right,
Go get all girls.
So, how many L's did you take to sis? Who's older, who's younger, and how many L's did you take?
So I'm younger by 1 minute. How many L's did I take to her? Come on.
Oh, let's go. Let's go.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
So Delaware strong. You went to an HBCU. We said that in the opening, right? How did you choose Delaware State to go to versus, you know, or just take me through that kind of when you were looking at what college where you wanted to extend your, you know, your education, I should say. How did you stick with that and stick with the home team?
Yeah, so I knew for a fact I wanted to attend an HBCU.
Okay.
My mother attended one, which happened to be Delaware State, but that wasn't my driving factor. We had shows like A Different World on TV. Like we would go on YouTube and just look at the homecoming. So my sister and I knew we wanted to go to an HBCU. We wanted to stay together. So my parents was like, okay, cool. Y'all gonna get that in-state tuition.
In-state.
Delaware State it is. So I didn't necessarily choose Delaware State. My parents chose it, but it was the best decision that they made of my life.
So tell me about that experience, right? Because like, of course, when you think about HBCUs, there's like names that people rattle off, and there's more that are coming into prominence, you know, so like a Jackson State for obvious reasons, from their sports and who their new head coach is. But tell us about that experience of going to that HBCU.
Yeah, going to an HBCU to me was, like I said, it was a no-brainer. In school, while I was in high school, I always knew I was going to have impact in the business world. I didn't know it would be sport, but I always knew I was going to have impact. And I always thought to myself, and I hope nobody gets offended, but oh well, a white male professor will not teach me how to be a dominant Black woman in corporate America. I need a Black. Does that make sense? I hope it does.
100%.
Yeah, I mean, our experience is different. I need to learn from someone who's been there, who can teach me the ins and outs, who can show me how to navigate as a Black woman in the corporate space. So I knew what HBCU was going to be for me. The experience overall was amazing. HBCUs are like a family. The CAF ladies become your aunties, your professors pray for you. It's just a different experience. Throwing Greek life on top of that, it was literally 4 years of being on top of the world.
I love it. Now, have you guys had your homecoming yet? Because it is kind of like homecoming season. I'm seeing it on the gram. Everybody coming back, feeling renewed, after going back home. So have you guys had yours, and do you get to attend?
So yeah, I get to attend this weekend. So I'm excited for it.
Let's go.
So AKAs, why do you choose that sorority?
I mean, it's fitting, you know, the first and the finest. Trailblazers, you know, committed to women, the upliftment of women, committed to service to all mankind. So it's
easy choice. And then I see that you study business management, right? You say you knew that's what you wanted to do anyway. I guess where did that foundation piece start? Because a lot of people go to college, they have an idea of what they want to do. 2 years in, they switch the idea. So how does that process work for you?
Yeah. I mean, so don't get it twisted. Like in the business sector, I was switching around. I didn't know exactly what it was that I wanted to do, but I knew generally I was going to have some sort of business impact. Like from even younger than high school, like I would remember riding down Wilmington, Delaware, which is the downtown area where all the big banks are. And I would see like these corporate professionals in their tailored suits on lunch break. And I would think to myself as an adolescent, like, be careful, I'm coming for your job one day. Like, I don't know where I got that from as a child, but that's literally what I was thinking. So I always knew I was going to have impact in the business space. But I did begin to like kind of figure out what that would look like once I got to college. I was an accounting major at one point. I had a theater minor at another point. Listen, your girl was just trying stuff out, and I just was trying to figure out what stuck.
No, I like it. You have to do that, right? Because I was actually speaking on a panel earlier this week, and I just kind of told them it's almost as important to know what you don't like while you're navigating to find what you like. So kind of carrying on with what MH kind of spoke on, where did the drive for education come for you, right? Like, I mean, you know, went to HBCU, you got your master's at Drexel, now you're working on your doctorate, I believe, right? Like, so where did the drive or the passion for like education, and is it a push because for work, or just kind of give us, you know, where all that stems from?
Yeah, so I would say it's not a push for work. It's not a necessity, I would say, in our field. But for me, one thing that I've always allowed to drive me is the fact that I always wanted to be the best. When I started in ticket sales, I always came in with the mindset I'm going to be the best. And even just being in this sports space, period, I always wanted to be known as the best. And to do that for me, again, comes from just fine tuning that craft by way of not only experience, but also education. So it's to be the best. I don't care if I'm working at McDonald's. I'm going to be the best burger flipper. People are going to fly in to watch me flip burgers and drop fries. It's who I am. I always wanted to be affiliated with the best.
Okay, shout out to Calvin. So with that, you also studied over abroad too.
Not Calvin.
Right? that was a late hit for you, right?
The 90s McDonald's commercial.
That was a late hit for you. It's all good. Some of our people gonna be listening to that, and it's gonna catch them late. But so you traveled. I mean, you did a semester or summer abroad. How did you get into that? Man, that was something that I've always wanted to do. What sparked that, and what was the program that you went to, or you went through to do it?
Yes. So my school had a relationship with a school in Asia. It was our sister school in Asia. And I wanted to do something that would stand out on my resume. And I asked my parents, and at first they said no. So I kept asking, and they kept saying, okay, cool, but you have to pay for it on your own. So I found the money somehow. One of my professors actually also helped to pay for it because he really wanted me to get the experience. Shout out to Dr. Kwok at Delaware State University. But yeah, I wanted to have something that set me apart. And I would say that experience was a game-changing moment for me. Because it allowed me to see that my competition was not only at Delaware State University. It wasn't up the street at Temple University and University of Delaware. It was worldwide because these students was in the libraries on Saturdays. So it was a great experience because at that time, between you and me, y'all and me, school was cool, but I didn't really take it that serious like that. Like, I was a sophomore. I mean, I was, living life. But that experience allowed me to, again, open my eyes and understand that, like, okay, this is bigger than you. You got to get serious.
So moving from college, right? And then I'm always interested into that transition into the real world. So we're not quite into your career, but just graduating, right? The feeling of accomplishing graduation and then knowing whatever my next step is. How did that process work for you?
So I knew that my next step was going to be in sports and entertainment post-graduation, but it did not happen immediately. So my expectation was to graduate, and as soon as I step off of campus, step onto the scene in sport. That ain't how it happened. So my first job out of school was at a retail store in the mall. And every day walking in there, I just felt like such a failure. But that experience, it taught me that you really need to live in the moment, because the things that you're learning in those not so great experiences are things that can be applied to when you actually get that opportunity. Not only that, it birthed like a certain grit inside of me. Like, if I can go through this, I can go through anything. If I can do this, then by all means, like, success is at my fingertips. This thing is going to happen.
Awesome. So, I mean, that brings us into a great transition. So now we're kind of what we call in the game. So this is really getting in talking about your career path and some of the things. So, that is my first question is how did you go from retail to, NFL exec? And I mean, what was that pivotal moment when you're sitting there and you're just like, okay, this is not where I want to be. I know I'm here for a reason, but what was that pivotal moment like to get into that first actual job? And I believe, was it with the G League? I may be skipping a few, but what was that that transition from retail to getting into sports?
Yeah, so let's get it clear. I never wanted to be in retail. That's just the only people that will hire me. Well,
that helped your shoe game, though, right?
I appreciate you. But no, so throughout that process, like I was interviewing like over and over and over. And it was so much so like I used to take a legal pad like this with me to interviews. And with each page, I would fill out, what the job was about, the mission, the vision, so I can go and prepare. Do you know I went through a whole legal pad before actually landing my first position in sport? Yes. So it was real. But after retail, I got a job in like an office. It was cool, but not really what I wanted to do. It was for the state of Delaware. And then again, I kept interviewing. And then I came across this opening with at the time, the Delaware 87ers. And I submitted my application. I went on LinkedIn. I didn't find the hiring manager, but I found somebody that worked there and she had her email up. So I took the hiring manager's name and guessed his email by way of like the worker having her email up. And then I emailed him saying, hey, I'm really interested in this. I can do boom, boom, boom. Would love to chat. And I didn't get a reply to the email, but eventually he called me in for an interview and the rest was history.
Love it. So can we get a little mini version of this of the TED Talk here? Because this is where I have so many questions. Because it takes a skill, right? And it takes a little bit, as you said, grit. And there's some other words that might not be appropriate just to say like, hey, put myself out there, right? Selling myself, right? Before, obviously. So I guess where did that part come from? And was that difficult at the time for you at all? Or was it just natural to you?
So definitely not natural. I am 100% by nature an introvert. So every time that I put myself out there, it is challenging, but I do it. Like, what's the worst that can happen?
That's the question that scares a lot of people.
Yeah.
Just that question alone.
Right, my ears started sweating. Right.
Like, hey, and I think that's where our mind goes, right? Like it takes those kind of challenges. And I think, we can relate. So I'm in sales and, a lot of people are like, oh, I couldn't do that, right? The rejection or tell people. So me and MH has this conversation all the time about like what, I'm built for. And then I tell him like, just how he deals with certain things, working in like community and working with certain people and like the patience he has to have working with youth and things like that. So we all find our skill set. So to answer that question, that's a scary proposition though. So commend you for stepping out. Facts. But yeah, so I mean, the TED Talk, right? Like what you say you're an introvert, but you did a TED Talk. Like that's like actual TED Talk
with slides
on the little carpet with slides.
Y'all, do y'all want to know something that nobody knows? I almost fell up there. You can't see it in the video, but my heel did like a little wobble thing, and I stepped back to play it off. But I almost took the biggest L of my life doing that TED Talk.
Oh boy, you got all of this stuff to stack up. But no, like, so how was that process? Do you have to submit something? Do they reach out to you, or is it both? Like, how did you get on that stage?
It came from a LinkedIn connection, and he actually reached out, I want to say maybe even a year ago. And to be honest, EJ and MH, like I was so scared, I put it off and I didn't do it the first time around. This was supposed to happen like months ago.
Oh, wow.
So he does this event twice a year. So he hit me up about a month before, and no, I hit him up and I said, hey, just wanted to follow up on this. And he goes, actually, we're preparing for our next one. And I paused on replying to that because I was a little nervous. And I waited like a week and I was like, all right, hopefully he filled all the spots so I can just, say that I missed it. But he was like, oh no, we're actually meeting tonight. So I jumped on the TED Talk call and, we talked through it and the rest was history. I was so nervous. I was so nervous preparing for the whole thing. I took some weeks off of school to focus on it because I wanted to do it right. And it turned out well to me, besides me almost falling and taking the biggest L in my life.
and no one noticed. Not putting that up. Even if you attempt to replay it, you probably won't see it. So, as I shared, and I kind of want to get our audience up to speed, is, you have a background in sales, which is another kind of thing where it's a male dominant. Well, sports in general is right, male dominant, white male dominant, but sales, getting women in sales. I was taught it's women in sales is just incredible. So how did you kind of get into that, and not only get into that, like kick ass and take names?
Yeah. Well, as you know, like in our industry, the best way to get into the industry is through inside sales. So I did that with the expectation that, I would pivot into something like communications. That my goal was to quote unquote get my foot in the door, right? Which is frowned upon. You're not supposed to do that. But once I got there, I was like, I'm good at this. I just kept selling and kept climbing up the sales board. So I stayed there. And I really did. I found a true love for sales. And to this day, I still love sales. The only reason why I pivoted is because I feel like I'm doing more of my purpose work now. But yes, I would advise, if somebody's out there is looking to get into the sport industry, I highly advise them to look into getting in sales.
So educate the guy in the room, both of y'all, inside sales. I just educate me on that. Explain. Either or. Y'all let me know.
This is about you, but yeah, inside sales is really kind
of. And why y'all both smiling the same way? Educate your boy, please. Thank you.
So definitely inside sales is, like I said, a starting off route. It's your leads and the way you prospect is different. The sale type is different. I don't want to disrespect it, but it is true. It's a churn and burn kind of environment before you get into things like, mostly that's what we call premium sales, which is sponsorship, PSLs, things that's a bigger dollar value, suite sales. That's a bigger dollar value, and it's a more, you need more tools in your tool bag to close those kind of deals and have those relationships. But inside sales is really, I'm getting my season tickets. You want a partial, half, full, what kind of plan?
Groups. Don't forget about groups.
Don't forget about groups. And then just kind of, getting those people on board, renewing them, and then servicing those clients when those things come out. And you have a bigger client base when you deal with those as well. So no, it's definitely a way. I attempted to avoid that at all costs on my route.
Did you not start in inside sales?
I did not.
Oh.
A mentor of mine told me, said, EJ, do not do inside sales.
Oh my God.
I had a longer road to get in, but it's just because of the nature that people burn out inside sales people. Sometimes you get burned out before you get to that next level, right? Depending on management and places you go and all that good stuff. But that is definitely a way to get your foot in the door, which is definitely frowned upon. So you mentioned something. Enough about that. Let's get back to you. You said working in your purpose, right? And you did do a big change, right? So now you're in the DE&I space, right? And we see that a lot more. We hear a lot more of it because of, the events that have happened over the last couple of years. Mm-hmm. But really two-part question. How did you get into that? Were you kind of seeked? Is this something you kind of applied for when you saw? And what change or effect or do you think that you're having in that role?
Yeah. So I was the director of group sales a few years ago, 2 years ago, maybe. And simultaneously, I started, along with some of my colleagues, the first employee resource group for the team. It was called the Black Engagement Network.
Hold on, you helped start that. Let's make sure we put that in there.
Yes, that's still, it was my baby. Yes, that was my baby. So yes, I helped to start up the Black Engagement Network, and I was the co-chair for that for a couple years, again, while simultaneously being the director of group sales. Eventually I was approached by our leadership team and asked, is this something I would want to do full time? And they presented the role. And to me, it was a no-brainer. So I pivoted from sales to doing diversity, equity, and inclusion work. So officially I've been in the role for a little over a year, but I've been doing the work ever since I stepped on the scene. I just got to make that clear.
Let's go.
I feel it. And why, in your opinion, why are resource groups so important, particularly in the sports world where, to your point, is male dominated and there's not a lot that look like us in some of those roles? So why is that important?
Yeah, number one being community, right? I think it's easier to thrive somewhere when you have a village of people who want to see you win, who want to pour into you, and you all are just there to uplift each other. Secondly, ERGs can play a role in your development within the company. If the program is effective, then you have opportunities for mentorship and exposure to leadership, and even opportunities to hone your own leadership skills if you'd like to serve on the board. So ERGs can really be a game changer for organizations, and I advise all sports teams to have them.
And what is the synergy from, my fault, EJ? I'm not a frat, so sororities and fraternities. How did that experience help you into starting something like that in a sports industry?
Honestly, it helped a lot. Just being exposed to that, not only the fraternity sorority life, but just the HBCU experience where everything is a big collective family. When I got to, my company and I saw so many different, Black and brown professionals, and I was like, okay, there's no meeting that we can have or something that we can do to, come together. Right? So upon research and, being a student of this, I discovered ERGs, and then I was calling around to certain individuals. Shout out to SA. I think she was on the podcast a few weeks ago. Talked to SA maybe like a year before we actually launched, and she helped talk me through it. And she's been a great resource. So yes. ERG.
So where two or more gather. What the word say?
Come on.
Let's go. So that was, and I'm glad you brought that up, because that was another kind of two-part question I was going to ask. Was one is like, where were you finding the resources, not only for ERGs, but as well as for your D&I work, right? Like, because that stuff is sometimes so new that you need to kind of reach out to other companies that are doing it right, or having success. So are there certain companies that you've talked to or that you've seen? We've heard of a couple kind of like out there, but I wanted to know, were you personally reaching out to anyone? And then also the second part, and I'll refresh this because I know it's a long question. Okay. The second part is
that legal pad.
That legal pad, but the second part is how do you get your organization to really support? Because like, I've started a resource group when I was with a casino company, right? And I know there's some sports organizations currently here in Las Vegas that are looking to build those. So if you can hit on those 2 points, the one, like who's doing it right, or who you're reaching out to help you, and then how are you getting the support internally for your own resource group?
Love that. Okay. All right. So the first question is, say it again. No, I'm sorry.
No worries. No, the first question is, who are you reaching out to that's doing it right?
Got you. So who am I reaching out to? I would say that with any role that I've ever had, I've always identified individuals that I can just call on. For example, like even starting in like the inside sales, account executive area in the G League. The NBA, for those of you who used to work in the NBA or work in the NBA, they used to produce like a list of the rankings, like, right? So you see like everybody, the top revenue producers, the bottom revenue producers. So the top revenue producers, I would call them and I would reach out to them and I would find out, hey, what are you doing? And that's where I learned like to jump out of my shell and to get beyond my ego, identify the people who are doing the best work and affiliate myself with them. The same thing translated when I was a director of group sales at my current company, and the same thing translated here in the DE&I space. You know, I found those people who are doing it right, and I literally just call them, right? People want to help. People want to make sure that you're on the right path. So SA was a great person to talk to, as far as several others in the league, and it was a great experience. As far as receiving organizational buy-in, well, did I answer your first question?
Absolutely.
Yes.
So,
okay.
Yep. And two is just, well, how did you get organizational buy-in for? Because it's cool to check the box and say we're going to do it. You know what I mean? But seeing that movement and support.
Yes. So the first piece of advice that I give to everybody is, number one, like, get out your feelings, check your emotions at the door. When you're trying to launch something like this, like, CEOs do not talk in feelings. I feel like I'm blank. I feel like this. Nobody cares about how you feel, unfortunately, right? Identify the issues and identify a solution. That's how you're supposed to approach it. Secondly, you want to, and I learned this in sales, EJ, like, you want to speak to what's important to the individual, right?
Facts.
So if you're speaking to the head of the partnerships department, the sponsorships department, and you want to get their buy-in, talk about how doing something like this can be a great look for some of our partners, or can allow for partner engagement for specific events. You know, if you're talking to the head of HR, talk about how this program can help you retain, recruit, and develop the best talent. So you want to make sure that your messaging is tailored to the specific individual that you're talking to.
Absolutely. And one of the ones that I've noticed is the Cleveland Cavaliers are one that's, as far as D&I doing it right. Their leader talks about the monetary portion of it. And when you start talking about dollars, and MH knows that I always, when we're talking about certain things, like when things go left or how things can improve, it comes down to that, dollars and cents of it. And the Cleveland Cavaliers have done a lot of great initiatives and speaking on how they really talked about how the D&I can not only help, like you said, partnerships and just different avenues, because people are more conscious of their dollars nowadays. So that's super dope.
So I come from the world of everything matters, right? I think no matter what you're doing to where you want to get to your goals, it all matters. So there's two words that you kind of hit on that I want you to back up on and kind of express more a little bit.
Sure.
Ego and emotions. Ego being the more important one. And I'm sure you were humbled at some point doing retail and shoes, because, I worked at Kohl's and I was humbled several times at Kohl's with doing shoes. So I guess talk about that portion of your life and how it plays into being an NFL executive now. Like, that's a huge swing, right? And that's and not that long, right? That's less than 15 years. You know what I mean? Like, that's a significant swing. So how did the ego part play into that? What did you learn from that low point, I guess?
Yeah. So like I said, at Delaware State, you spend some years being on top on campus, being a senior class vice president, AKA you got a twin. You just walking around looking fly on campus. You think once you graduate, the job opportunities are going to come flying, right?
All day doing it.
But your girl's phone was dry come May 2012. Okay, your girl's phone was dry. Nobody was calling me. Nobody was emailing me. So yes, that was certainly an ego check. And I would say for anybody who may be experiencing that, like, adopt the spirit of servitude, right? When you're serving, ego goes out the door, humility goes up, and you're also tapping into your purpose. And you're learning things about yourself that you can begin to apply for your career and for your future. So, yes, check the ego at the door.
The doors of the church are
open. Speaking of the doors of the church, I mean, you got some vocals. Did you be blessing them with? Like, talk to me about that, man. And I mean, So we're gonna be humble on here. That's cool.
A and B selection.
Right. Listen. We're gonna share all your social media with the folks out there so they gonna see it for themselves. But no, let's talk about even that, right? So you have the day job, and I think one of the things that's awesome that I love that you promote and you talk about, and we'll get into your books. We're getting to that point. But without stealing that thunder, talk about like that 9 to 5. Like you're an advocate of 9 to 5, and then walking into your other passions. So talk to a little bit about that, and then talk about some of the events that you do, whether they're the faith-based events that you or the other events, because I think that that's one of the things where entrepreneurs are like knocking people with 9 to 5s, right? And I think Gary Vee a long time ago, it's like, no, you don't have to quit your 9 to 5, you just need to hustle more from your 7 to 12. So kind of talk to us about that and what made you start that role.
Yes. So y'all know I'm all for the 9 to 5. I love being a sports girl, a sport professional. But I do believe that, in order for me to tap into every single gift that I have, I need to do some other things outside of work. And it's not designed to, be a competition for my 9 to 5. It's designed to work in conjunction with my 9 to 5. I don't like this rhetoric that everybody should quit their jobs and be online social sellers. Okay, if that's you, cool, but don't demonize the 9 to 5, right? If you do that, how you gonna get into the games? EJ's not gonna sell you a ticket, even though he don't sell tickets. He doesn't advocate for that. But right, how are you gonna go through the Chick-fil-A line if people don't have 9 to 5s? So I really wish that people would stop doing that. But I will also challenge the 9 to 5er to look internally and to see what gifts they're not tapping into, and maybe like see what are the things that's keeping them up at night. And I would ask them to start to cultivate that, right? And start to figuring out like, hey, what do I want my personal brand to look like? Is there content I can create around this? Is there sellable content that I can create around this? So yeah, I encourage everybody to have not only a 9 to 5, but also a 5 to 9.
Let's go.
Quick, as we ready for them?
Yeah, man. All you.
All right. So Chanelle, these are some kind of quick hit questions. Get to know you. Some things that come top of mind for you. All right.
Okay.
We good? You look nervous. Why you get that nervous look?
It's okay. Let's go.
Easy questions. So, first time, if ever, that you've been starstruck.
First time, if ever. We trained to not be starstruck.
Okay, that's fair. Chris Brown or Usher?
What is the question?
Chris Brown or Usher? Which
What
one?
do you
What's
performance, vocals, legend?
All the above. Yeah, all the above. Let's just go. Let's go performer then. Let's just do performer.
Performer. I think that's hard to say because you can't pick the student over the teacher.
Yeah, so the answer is pretty easy then, right? Yeah, that's what I was. That's what
I walked into that. It's all right.
So, favorite place to travel?
I went to Paris a couple years ago. It was amazing.
We going shoe game here. So, sneakers. Give me your top 3, and then I want to get the heels. Let me get some of your heels here. Top 3 heels that you would wear. Casual day, and you stun day. A casual day, and then you stun on a day.
Y'all, my sneaker game is weak. Okay, I got some rose gold Air Maxes. I like those. They're really cute. I got some colorful Adidas. They're really cute. And then on chill days, like maybe like a Vans.
Okay, that tells a lot about a person. I'm telling you, shoes tell a lot. You know this. You know this. Shoes say a lot about a person. All right. Proudest accomplishment.
Writing not 1 but 2 books in the pandemic. And my TED Talk.
It should be. Who's your hero? Or heroes? Okay. Any nicknames?
Really?
Let's get it.
No, some people like close family would call me Nelly, right? But my first manager in ticket sales used to call me Nelly too. But Nelly, family nickname.
There it is.
I had a Nelly name belt too.
Hold on, you gotta explain that a little bit.
Y'all didn't have name belts?
Not me. I don't know EJ.
I did not.
Is that an East Coast thing? I don't know. What is?
Oh, wherever you're watching this, please comment below if you had a name belt.
Put it out there. We want that. Matter of fact, this is definitely going to get clipped for a Throwback Thursday. This is definitely getting clipped.
Can you explain real quick what the name belt? Let me. What's that?
It's custom, right?
Literally, it was like a belt, but then it was like a silver metal-y thing, and then you would get your name in it. So I got
it's customized. So you had to go to somebody's mall.
Yep.
and order this. Okay.
Yep.
And they looks confused.
Yeah, I am. But no, it's great. Okay. If you had a dinner with 5 guests, who would that dinner be? And what would you guys be eating?
We would be eating some vegetarian friendly / pescatarian friendly cuisine.
I like it.
My 5 guests alive or
top 5 dead or alive.
Yeah,
top 5 alive. Okay. All right. Top 5 alive. St. Marshall. John C. Maxwell. Gary V. My twin sister.
Got one more.
Love it.
I say Gary V, right?
Yep.
Coach Stormy, because she got to talk about the low vibrational play. Did y'all see that on Instagram? No.
Saw a little bit clip of it, but I didn't listen to the whole thing. You didn't. So go back and watch that one.
I got some homework. Right. And I'm going to be a little messy real quick because I'm a Knicks fan. What the 76ers doing this year?
I mean, thick and thin, right? You got to stick with them.
Mm-hmm.
I can't stand somebody that switches teams, so I'll never be a team switcher. So I'm going to stick with my Sixers.
Okay. Shout out to Joel Embiid. I'm good, EJ. I appreciate you, Chanelle.
All right, we learned some stuff in that one.
We did.
So that's all good.
I'm gonna get that belt. Let me get that belt.
I know what I'm getting you for Christmas, man. All right, so now we're jumping into the winner's circle. And it's been alluded to from the opening and a couple things. So we got to start with 2-time author, right? So you had 2 books. So the first one was the Success Playbook, excuse me. Mm-hmm. And then the second one was and what was the time difference between those? And then give me why you wrote them. And the second one was The Art of Taking L's. So writing a book, like we hear different stories about people who write a book. So give me what made you want to write a book and then that process.
What made me want to write a book? I always knew that I was going to write a book. I didn't know about what, but I just knew. So the pandemic, I actually was trying to write this book for several years, but the pandemic is when I sat down.
Trying to write the first one for several. Okay.
Yes. I finally got the opportunity to sit down and just concentrate on it. I also connected with a mentor, and connecting with him just like made it a breeze. The reason why I wanted to write the Success Playbook is because I wanted to just have my thoughts, the way I think, the grittiness, the everything, like the art of taking L's, everything. I wanted to have it in a book so that it can help other people by the masses, right? I often get asked in my LinkedIn DMs, like about my career journey, how I got from here to there. That's why I wrote it. I want to be able to like clearly explain my career path, how I got from point A to point Z. And I just want people to have constant access to it.
What's a dope takeaway? I know you have like a lot, but what's one of your favorites that maybe like you always run back to, right? Because we always have like those quotables or something, especially in sales, like ABC and all of that. What's one of like those dope quotables in your first book, the Success Playbook, that you always go to, that you like to share with people?
Oh, wow. Like, I'm so unprepared. I was so not prepared to talk about this book, but here we are.
But there it is, though.
Playbook.
So for our listening audience, she has a beautiful cover up, with her killing it in that white dress. Success Playbook, which is her first book. If you don't have it, it's available in all stores. We pump that. I'm waiting for the audio book, by the way.
Oh, did I say I was going to do that?
No, but you need to do
Oh,
that. We just get that out
you're
there.
right. You're right. My favorite like gem dropping thing, and this just came to me randomly. In the Success Playbook, I have quotes throughout. So some from me, some from like sport figures. My favorite is, "My mind is $1 million empire. Giving you my peace would be a bad investment." And that came to me. Thank you. That came to me when like I was really annoyed at something that somebody said to me at work, and it really got under my skin. And it was for like a whole 24 hours I was in my bag. But then I just thought, like, I am an author, I'm a speaker, like my mind is literally a money-making empire. Why am I giving this so much of my peace?
Jules.
The art of taking L's. I'm so interested in this philosophy for a couple reasons, but one,
Hold it up. Let's go.
Definitely hold it up. My dad, one of my quotes that I live by, my dad always told me was like, "Hey, you win early, you win a long time," and I kind of live by that as well. The art of taking L's. I think the result is the same, but it's just kind of a different mindset. So, how did you get into that mindset of the art of taking L's there?
Yeah, it was honestly a combination of like highs and lows throughout my career. The fact that, it took me a while and took me some hurdles to get into my career. So I wanted to, again, like house my thought process into a book to show others you can get beyond your L. You can get beyond this low place that you're in. And I got the note yesterday that it's officially trademarked. So I'm the official owner of The Art of Taking L's. So I'm excited about that. Thank you.
Let's go. So in that book writing process, right? Because there's so many, and I've heard people just talk about the whole book writing process. And you did, I don't know if you did this, but it came out that for The Art of Taking L's, you kind of had co-authors. So what was that experience like, bringing in other people to kind of like under this umbrella of the overarching theme? How was that, writing that book and sharing this process with others?
Yes. So I knew I wanted to incorporate authors in this book because there are some L's that I just haven't taken. And there are things that I wouldn't be able to speak to that my audience needed to hear about. Okay. Like, for example, like one guy talks about his experience with divorce. I've never been divorced. There was some who, lost a parent. By the grace of God, I haven't lost a parent. So it touches on pretty much any scenario you can think of, and it teaches you how to navigate through that.
That's amazing.
Success University. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Okay. Y'all did y'all research. So that was it's under construction now. That was a class style university that allowed me to impart into others and address some of these questions that I would get asked a lot, i.e., how to create content, how to be involved in personal branding, how to negotiate, once you get into your business, like how do you negotiate certain things with maybe vendors and things like that. So it was a overall course about 4 weeks, and I just taught some notes and nuggets to my audience.
Love it. So talking from a podcast perspective, that you're familiar with that. You've had a few channels, and just kind of like I said, you're definitely an upfront person. So to say that you're kind of an introvert is just, it's amazing. But I understand how you can be an introvert, but know how to turn the switch on and make it happen. So you have a few things, and I kind of want the audience to hear a little bit about, like, how did, double portion, which is a play on you and your sister, that's dope, kind of turn into like double dose, right? Like, because it seems like it's many facets, right? It's the podcast, but it's the clothing you guys do, the brand building, so talk to the evolution of that.
Yeah. So it all started with our mobile app that we had a few years ago.
Mobile app.
I mean,
No, you
Let's
did
go.
great. That was great. It started with the mobile app, and we used to send these daily quotes and inspirational quotes and affirmations and all that good stuff, scriptures, every day to our audience. And they were really hungry to be poured into. So that's pretty much what our brand became about, is, pouring into others, bringing them closer to God and their faith, all that good stuff. For those who know me, know that I'm deeply rooted in my faith. So that's where that started. And then, clothes stemmed from that. So a faith-based clothing line. And then now we have our podcast, in which is like a fusion of Shonda and Chanelle. Chanelle, who's like the sports individual, Shonda, who's like the psychological therapist. And together we're double dose, two different people, two different personalities, two different perspectives.
Dr. Shonda.
Dr. Shonda.
Fantastic. What's next? I mean, like, are we looking at, and I'm my bad, MH, because I know we were
stole the question right out. That was same wavelength, brother.
I mean, you got an app. I mean, you spoke on Foxsoul, CNN, TED Talks, books. You got your career popping. The faith-based. The doors of the church are open. So, what is next? Another book? Like, talk to us. Short term, long term, whatever you want to share with us. But we want to hear it. We're excited about it.
Yes. So I said I'm not writing another book until a publishing company approaches me and they have some sort of 6-figure deal on the table. So here we go.
Put it out there.
Speaking it into existence.
Put it out there.
But yes, a book eventually, and continue with school, continue with speaking, continue with the podcasts with an S, because I have me and my sisters, but I also have my own. But I do plan to, in the immediate future, I want to help some of my peers get their personal brands together. Like I've been approached about that. Like, people who are in the sport industry, they love being in sports, but they know that like they have a book inside of them. They just don't know like how to start, or like they know that there's some sort of speaker or a podcaster, but they just don't know where to start. So I would like to figure out how to help those individuals.
I love it. All right, so here's where we jump into the assist, right? So this is where you get to put your coaching hat on, or you get to drop some more of those jewels. You dropped them from your shoot your shot point, but like if you got any more that you can share, or maybe just something you would tell your younger self. So yeah, hit us with that.
Something I would tell my younger self is the sky's the limit. Success is at your fingertips. Be confident in who you are. Don't try to conform to anybody. Be authentic and show up unapologetically.
It is. All right, MH, you want to hit us with the final thoughts, man?
Chanelle, appreciate your time, and I'm very excited about your journey, and look forward to supporting you as you continue to grow and keep building.
Awesome. Thank you.
And yeah, is there any kind of social media you want to put out there? We're going to put that in the show notes. Your definitely website is, I think, is a key spot where they can find, at least the multiple ways to get to you. Was there anything you want to share as far as your website, social media, podcast handles, anything like that?
Yeah, I'm just Chanelle S. Reynolds on all platforms. Chanelle S. Reynolds on Instagram, same as LinkedIn, and my website.
Well, there it is. Well, we want to thank you so much for hopping on the show with us. Definitely taking time out of your obviously busy schedule. So we truly appreciate you making time. And always, you have a home here. So welcome to kind of share things any way we can support and continue to share your message. We definitely appreciate you.
Thank y'all. It's been a pleasure.
Absolutely. So we also want to thank you, the people, for listening. I hope you enjoyed the show and picked out those nuggets. We're definitely going to figure out where you can get that name belt from. So make sure you comment in the comments about that. But just please subscribe to our YouTube channel, because visual representation matter. Subscribe to wherever you listen to podcasts, and stay safe, practice gratitude, and know we're rooting for you.
Screaming, all us blacks got is sports and entertainment until we even.
Assuming I'm rooting for everybody that's black. Yeah. Yeah. Sue me, I'm rooting for everybody that's black. Look. Sue me, I'm rooting for everybody that's black. Spent about 2 racks on handmade new rags. Sue me, I'm rooting for everybody that's black. That's everybody from sports to college class to rap and back.